We move on now to our next session. Our next session is all about, we're jumping into business architecture as a foundation for digital transformation. So some believe that business and enterprise architecture don't have a place in digital transformation. Some do, some don't naturally, but this, however, when successfully deployed and business value focused, an architecture practice is a critical enabler. In fact, a necessity for digital transformation. That's at least what our next speaker, our next person in our virtual playground will share with you right now. And hopefully he'll persuade you and give you the insight you need to continue along the same train of thought. So please welcome to the stage, Head of Strategic Programs Office at Hyperoptic, Mr. Ivan Stefanovic. Ivan.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? We saw you were with us yesterday. Fantastic. I'm sure you've been with us naturally as part of HR Week as well. You've been following each day as well. Love to hear what are your, we're on the last day now. Just quickly, what are your what's your feeling apart from it's Friday, Feel Good Friday? What's your feeling of how things have unfolded during the week?
It was fantastic, right? We heard a lot of great presentations, a lot of great speakers, very different topics, but all topics were very relevant for the current situation, especially when we're considering COVID-19 and everything around it. Of course, I'm most into organization design, so I was very enjoying while hearing Naomi Stanford, while hearing Amy Kate, and I'm very, very eager to hear what Professor Mintzberg has to say today later.
Yeah, that's right at the end of the day. So we're kind of finishing off in style on a high. But in the meantime, it's you take the reins right now. Again, remember, even I'll be towards the end. I'll come back in with questions and comments from our listeners. So it's over to you.
Sure, perfect. So let me give you a brief introduction. I'm a seasoned professional with mainly focused on areas of strategy development and implementation, organization design, process optimization, performance management, and business architecture. Throughout my career, I have been working in various industries such as oil and gas, banking, gaming, and lately telecommunications. As of recently, my role is a head of strategic programs at Hyperoptic, which is a British-based fiber network developer and internet service provider. I hold a PhD in strategy and organization from the Faculty of Organizational Sciences, University of Belgrade, and I'm also a certified business architect, which is related to the topic I'm about to present. So, without any further ado, let me switch to the presentation. Can you see my screen? Okay, so the title is Business Architecture as a Foundation for Digital Transformation. So to begin with, let's talk about digital. So I believe digital is much more than technology. This is an age or an era where customer engagement is expected, meaning we're not communicating in one direction with customers, but rather we expect customers to engage. We expect customers to provide input. We need to tailor the products to customers. So relationships are in real time, choice is practically infinite, delivery is on demand, change is constant, and technology enables everything we do. No matter if we're talking about our personal lives, our business lives, or our, social surroundings, social networks. So everything is being enabled by technology. So what does that mean for the business landscape? Of course, there's a lot of things going on. We have changing customer expectations where you have all these product services that need to be tailored to the specific needs of customers in real time, 24/7. Then you have highly competitive global environment where you have market entry of aggressive new competitors all over the globe. Then products and services, you expect innovations and differentiation from any conceivable competitor, and this is happening in ever shortening time to market cycles. Then you have boundaries between countries and industries that are being erased, right? So it's not just about companies are now able to source their inputs and sell their outputs globally. It's about having the opportunity to learn and use best practices and benchmark with companies from all around the globe, from different industries, different countries, wherever you want. Of course, there are significant leadership and culture challenges. You have a lot of political and regulatory pressures. Then when it comes to the technology itself, there's a lot of things going on. You have different technologies popping out everywhere, and you need to be aware of those technologies. You need to be aware how you can implement them and use them effectively in order to satisfy the needs and wants of your customers. And let me give you a few examples, like Internet of Things. Can you imagine the impact that Internet of Things, as communication between these various devices in real time, the impact of this on various industries, right? Then artificial intelligence. A lot of companies are using algorithms based on artificial intelligence in order to understand and to predict the behavior of their customers and what is it that they will want in the future. Of course, there is COVID-19 impact, and companies had to adapt to the pandemic by transforming their operating models. So there is this remote workforce trend, right? And on the other hand, you have some sort of hybrid models happening. So we need to transform, we need to understand what is going on in order to adapt. So taking all this into consideration, companies must transform using digital technologies in order to develop and deliver a profitable portfolio of products and services, right? So we are getting to the necessity of digital transformation. So we understand all these factors, we understand they're influencing majority of industries and practically all the companies around the globe. But what is it that we need as companies to do? Of course, we need to engage in digital transformation. And it's important to understand digital transformation is not just about technology. It's about how you operate and deliver value to your customers. It's about future-proofing the concept of your business in the long run. So in order to embark on a journey of digital transformation, it's about thinking how to adapt, but not only, as I said, on the level of technology, but also on the level of your people. How are you going to train your people? What are going to be their crucial skills in the future? How are you going to adapt your organization structure to respond? What is it that you're going to do with your business processes, with your organizational culture? We talked about it yesterday and a few other days as well. So a lot of things are happening, right? And this is what we need to take into consideration. Again, as I said, COVID-19 is having a profound impact. And now the challenge is for organizations to maintain the boldness inspired by the pandemic's disruption to continue to innovate in new and creative ways. So a lot of things are happening. We can see that there's various efforts to do digital transformation, but unsuccessful endeavors are piling up because a lot of approaches we are taking at the moment are not working. They're simply not doing the work, right? So, for example, you will find companies that focus only on implementing new digital technologies. You will see a lot of projects that in their scope have only implementing some future proof of concept of some technology, but not taking into consideration the whole business agenda. They're not taking into consideration what is it that customers want to achieve with your products or services, etc. So other companies are trying to org design their way to digital, meaning they're trying to put new teams in place. They're trying to decrease the number of layers of hierarchy, etc. But these efforts by themselves will not take you to the digital transformation journey. Then picking whatever technology sounds available. All of us are sitting in our chairs watching what Google is doing, what Microsoft is doing, and then we say, okay, if they can do it, if they have these latest technologies, why can't we buy those technologies and implement those technologies and do the same thing these guys are doing? And it's not simply working. Some companies are just telling people, look, guys, you just need to be more agile, you need to be more innovative. They provide some courses on that topic, but again, it's very a partial view on digital transformation. Then isolated victory or bursts of activities. We have some few quick wins, and then we say, okay, let's declare digital success. We are digital now. Again, some companies decide to hire or buy digital skills outside of their company while not focusing on their people, on their talent pool and not working anything, a lot with their people. So it's like a one-way street. You need to use your people as well. So I'm just saying the what is common for all these approaches is that they are like very narrowly focused, and you need to take into consideration the overall picture, not just some bits and pieces. So this takes us to the next question. What is it that HR and other professionals need to be aware of in order to enable digital transformation and all the other acts of transformation and change within their companies? So I would say that one of the disciplines that has gained a lot of traction in the recent years is business architecture. So business architecture is an overall concept or discipline, if you will, that represents holistic multidimensional view on your company. It involves several lenses. So there is several lenses through which you can look at your company and understand what is happening, what is going on. So you have these lenses of capabilities, you have these lenses of value delivery and processes, you have these lenses of information, organization structure, strategies, policies, etc. So different lenses you can use interchangeably in order to understand what is happening in your organization and how you will enable digital transformation. So the value of business architecture is to provide this abstract representation of your company and the system in which your company is working. By doing so, business architecture delivers value as an effective communication and analytical framework for translating strategy into your daily operations. So this framework also helps you to navigate complexity, reduce risk, make more informed decision, etc. So it's about connecting the dots and how are you going to translate your strategy to your operations. Just a brief overview of what domains and elements we have in business architecture. So as you can see, there are core domains which are in the inner circle. These are capabilities, organization, information, and value stream. So these domains are considered as core domains because they're relatively stable compared to other aspects of the business. In the outer circle, you will find policies, stakeholders, strategies, products, metrics, and initiatives. These are non-core domains. They change more frequently compared to the core domains. So core domains is what you must have in order to have the business architecture in place, and everything else can be added additionally. I would like to discuss three basic key points you need to take into consideration in order to progress with digital transformation and business architecture. So first of all, business architecture is like a vehicle that is helping you to get from point A, which is basically your strategy, to point B, which is basically your day-to-day operations. So it's a vehicle to transform your day-to-day operations with your strategy in mind. The second point is everything is about capabilities. So you need to use your capabilities and to map them with your objectives in order to get to your results. And I will be talking briefly about this business motivation model, which you can see in the middle row on the left side. And then a business architecture is very important in terms of the roadmap that will explain how are you planning to achieve, how are you planning to deliver your strategy and move from point A to point B. So let's start with the first point. As I said, business architecture is a delivery vehicle, right? And it will help you to avoid many mistakes that you will find in current when organizations are trying to implement their strategies. For example, I will give you just a few examples on what can happen badly and what are the failure points when you're trying to implement your strategy. For starters, the drivers of strategy are often misaligned. So business is sometimes not aware of all the crucial success factors and other value drivers that you need to take into consideration when designing your strategy. The second thing is strategy is not sufficiently tied to your operations, right? So you have something in mind, but again, you don't have a good overview of what's going on in operations. Then needed capabilities, they're not properly understood, they're not even properly measured. So you need to be aware of that as well. Then planners not accountable for delivery. You have generals that are not sitting in the trenches and not understanding what's going on in day-to-day operations. And lastly, but not least, benefits aren't quantified or traced back to original goals, meaning that you're not following up with your projects, you're not knowing if, so you got some delivery with your projects, but you're not aware of what the benefits are. Then this relationship between business motivation model on one end and capabilities on the other end, I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but let me give you a brief example. Imagine your vision is to become a choice number one company in your region for your products and services. So the goal is to become, let's say you have several goals, but one of the goals, strategic goals, is to become more customer centric company, right? And then there's a lot of objectives that you need to achieve. And let's say one of the objective is you need to decrease your time to market for 20% in the following 2 years. So it's a very specific objective. What is it that you need to do? You need to tie this objective to your capabilities. So you need to understand, if you want to achieve these objectives, which capabilities are going to be impacted, and then to map those capabilities to specific processes that are using those capabilities. Then you need to map which units and which positions in your company and roles are working on these processes, which IT systems they are using, which data are being used by those systems, etc. So you get this network, this architecture in which everything is connected. So all the elements are combined, right? And then whenever you make a change in one component, you can see the impact of the change on all other components. And it enables you to have a much better impact analysis and understand how to achieve the change. Again, as I said, the third point is about the roadmap. So you need to understand how to translate your strategy in order to get from point A to point B, which projects you need to have in place, which programs you need to have in place, and what specific targets are they going to address. The overall journey of the business architecture in order to translate your strategy, your digital strategy, into your daily operation is starting with the motivation model I briefly explained, then getting to the business model. You will notice probably the business model canvas here that comprises of several models like market model, service model, capability model, etc. Then capability model consists of several layers: people, processes, information technology, etc. Getting to the roadmap and then putting some governance around it, right? So you need governance. You need to understand how is it that you're going to lead this change. So I know this looks a bit complex, but trust me, once you have your architecture in place, meaning you have mapped your capabilities, you have your organization mapped, you have mapped your processes, you have mapped your information, etc., and you did the cross mapping, you will have this architecture in place that will make you understand more easily how to make any sort of change happening in organization. And I'm just gonna quickly go through the overall process of executing business architecture to digitally transform the business. Again, starting with your goals and objectives, understanding business motivation, as I already stated, understanding what's your future business model canvas, what is the strategy to get there, right? Then defining capabilities that will be impacted. And then with this, you need to assess their maturity, because you're going to have a lot of capabilities that will be impacted, but you need to understand the level of maturity and what you're trying to achieve with those capabilities. Then, of course, you need to define the future state of maturity for these capabilities, and then you need to understand the gap between, right? You need to understand what is the gap and how to bridge the gap with your project, with your programs, etc. Of course, in the end, you need to compile your transition plan, again, how to move from point A to point B. So this is it basically. How do you use your, first of all, what is business architecture and how do you use it in order to have to succeed in transforming your business in a digital or any other way?
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah,
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. Listen, we've got a couple of questions. We haven't got much time because we've got quite a lot of questions. You've shared a great session indeed. Just a quick one for you. What is the role of HR in this process of digitalization? Okay, that's a broad question. So just if you could just give us a kind of a very squeezed, simple answer, what would you say?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. So I know that nobody's expecting HR to be very deeply familiar with the business architecture as a concept, right? So uh, um, it's more about raising the awareness of HR about on business architecture per se. So they need to be aware that this framework exists, and they need to communicate with people who are in position to put business architecture in place, helping them to understand the impact of the changes the business is trying to achieve, right? So when you understand this impact, it's more easy for HR to think about the change management process and what is it that they need to do in order to make these impacts feasible, in order to make these impacts effective. So again, it will help them on their journey of digital transformation.
Okay, moving on from that question, just complementing that answer, in fact. So what are the skills HR professionals need as to have as catalysts for this change, for this transformation? What a couple of the skills that come to mind right now in terms of how they're going to take this change forward?
Yeah, again, good question. They just need to build on their existing skills. So HR is already into a lot of analytical skills because everything that is happening and all the trends, I'm not going to repeat myself now, but on the other side, communication, right? So if you have all these this awareness, and if you know what the business architecture is and how you can use it effectively, right, then you will be able to understand impacts and how to navigate through the complexity. So I would say nothing new for HR, but just to broaden their understanding of the business architecture and to be more effective in terms of the change management. So that would be like a
Okay.
brief advice on my
Okay, so
end.
those are things that on the side of the HR. But if we were to look at business just in general, how can the business side help HR for these expectations? What would you say?
So I would say that first of all, we need to raise awareness with executives, right, with the C-suite level, right, because they need to understand that, because we have a lot of, as I said, a lot of unsuccessful projects they're piling up, and that's because we don't have a proper framework. If they understood that they need a proper framework set in place, I think they would have they would support HR in getting this new knowledge and communicating around the organization what needs to be done in order to get there.
Listen, I have to say thank you so much once again. And as a man well known within HR world community, a man who's really, and a lot of people may not know this, but naturally you are responsible for a lot of majority of the speakers that we see today and throughout the week as well. It would not be possible without your energy, your hard work, and helping, persuading so many great speakers to come and join us and share their ideas. So thank you for that. And once again, thank you so much, Eve, and for your time as well.
Thank you, and I just want to add that this platform is very well known, and the awareness about the quality of this platform is rising. So it wasn't so hard to persuade our speakers to join us. And thank you on
And
this.
I'm sure it's going to get easier, a lot easier in future once they see
Definitely.
this, and it's just easier to bring them on board. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.
Right, we're about to move on now to our next session, but before we do that, we're just going to have a very short break of a couple of minutes, and we are going to jump into a session literally entitled How to Discover Our Innovation Gene. I'm intrigued, you're intrigued. A couple of minutes and we'll find out exactly what that's all about.